Do you agree with that? Do you agree that people of your age do not have a single leader to look up to?
Well, again, that's a self-admission of failure from Umar Abdullah, because he's a young politician. He was portrayed to us as the messiah of the young people. So if he says that the youth of Kashmir are leaderless, that is a telling indictment of his own admission that he has not been able to connect to the constituency he should have been able to connect. Moving on, nobody likes to see people die. These are people we identify with, we relate to. These are our own kith and kin. We don't like to see scratches on their bodies, leave alone the fact that we see them draped in white shrouds when they should be playing. But trivializing the whole issue by calling it a cycle of violence where people protest, come out in the streets, are shot, are murdered, if I may, and then there are more protests leading to more deaths. That's a very superficial and very immature political assessment by our Chief Minister and by people who do that. There is a sentiment, and the only people who are responsible for psychologically cornering the people of Kashmir and this generation of Kashmiris are those who have taken up a jackboot approach. You cannot curb dissent. You cannot go on curbing dissent for months together, confining an entire nation, putting people in their homes, trivializing their aspirations, and then expect them to behave reasonably and rationally.
But
that premise is completely unreasonable.
Let me ask Faizan then, it's many people say that there is a young generation, your age and Junaid's age, and that is the generation that today's politicians need to communicate with, and that is the generation, ironically, that nobody is seeing. Nobody seems to be able to reach, nobody seems to be able to penetrate and get through to people of your generation.
Barkha, the irony is, even today you had announcements on the streets, जो कोई सड़क पे देखा जाएगा उसको गोली मारी जाएगी, जो बचेगा उसको फिर से गोली मारी जाएगी. And when things like this happen, how can I be inhumane enough not to protest against the killing of a 7-year-old? I can understand him being a part of the mob and being shot, but he was beaten to death. And if people don't expect that, call me anti-national, call me a terrorist, call me sponsored by LET, call me sponsored by Pakistan. But if I protest against his killing, I have every right to. Call me whatever you may, but I still will. I being in Delhi, I don't have the avenue to go out on the streets and protest, but I will do whatever I can. I'll do it online. If the people of my land need my blood, I'll go out and give them my blood. I'll work for the injured. I'll do whatever I can, which is in my power.
But can I ask you something? An online protest is a peaceful protest, and unless it descends into abuse or hate, nobody can object to it. Of course, you have a right to object to civilian killings, to a child, being killed in firing. I agree with you, but do you support, for example, the burning of a police station?
Barkha, the thing is, it's not just about the burning of a police station. Why was the police station burnt in the first place? How many 12-year-olds have been shot? In the past 40 days, the toll stands at 40. And when in 40 days, 40 people are killed, and the chief minister of this place, who's behaving like a runaway convict, issuing video statements from from Kashmir, addressing the media in Delhi, what does that leave us with? Call us whatever you may, but the youth of this place have never been taken into account. You may talk of youth being on the streets, youth dying on the streets. You may talk of imprisoning an 80-year-old, but what about us? It's the youth of this place who are dying on the streets.
Junaid, can I ask you, because this has been written about and debated, it's been debated on your Facebook page as well. Do you believe that the internet commentary, like mirroring the discourse that's taking place in Srinagar, has become filled with a certain kind of intensity that's almost dangerous, that's often bordering on hatred for people who don't agree or who don't agree fully?
Sure, but where is the surprise? If you have confined, it's a pressure cooker situation. You have confined this sentiment, there is no vent, there is no listening ear. The thought makers in Delhi, much like the leaders in Kashmir, are behaving as if they have adult dyslexia. They don't seem to get it. 90s is dwarfed in comparison to what we are faced with now. There is an overwhelming sentiment of neglect and absolute humiliation in Kashmir. And there is hatred. There is hatred because hatred is a passionate emotion. There is passion, and that has been pent up. No vent has been provided. And if you talk about Facebook, I just heard you asking Faizan that protests on Facebook are peaceful. But there were arrests made people who are active on Facebook have been harassed by this government in Islamabad. There are media reports of people who are actually on Facebook, have a particular bent of mind and sentiment, regardless of how they express themselves. We have free speech. You cannot deny that. So if you start arresting little kids just because they are agitated or just because you think they are professing what is violent, then what do you leave them with? I mean, frankly speaking, then the only avenue you leave them with is becoming gun fodder and going out onto the streets.
But can I ask you
again, who is responsible?
Can I ask you both now for last comments? What do you believe, because you don't agree with the cycle of violence metaphor, and your generation, many of your generation don't seem to agree with it. What do you believe can be done to create an environment where at least people can go out again, not get killed, where there aren't these images of violence on a daily basis? I mean, surely you believe, or let me rephrase it and ask you, do you believe a political initiative from Delhi would be welcomed at this point?
Well, it would be welcome, but if you come to think about it, we cannot sit on the table. As much as Delhi doesn't want to sit on the table while there is strife, we cannot sit on the table while we are burying our children. So the dichotomy there is too conspicuous to ignore. We cannot bury our 9-year-olds and 15-year-olds and be expected to talk, and we have always been talked down to. As for what needs to be done for this cycle to end, I don't believe it's a cycle. I believe it's an out-and-out suppressive, prolonged mechanism of massacring a generation. So what needs to be done is that Delhi needs to get off its high horse. The state government needs to realize that it has completely failed in connecting to its people. A generational transition has been sullied, it has been molested, and all hopes have been blown to smithereens.
I'm really at the end of the show. I'm really at the end of the show, but I just want to ask you for one last thought. Is there any leader that you all look up to?
Barkha, it has come down to a point where the people of Kashmir have realized that it's us, nobody cares for us. You may give as many press conferences as you like, you may be involved in jingoistic nationalism, if you may call it that, but the thing is, the people of Kashmir this time, they are giving their blood, they are giving their cars to be used as ambulances, they are giving...
How does this violence end, according to you?
The violence, the first thing, it's the approach you have to maintain. You don't say that people out on the streets, you don't tell them shun the violence and stop these protests.
So you can't solve it with more force?
More force. What I hear is 2,000 more troops are coming to the valley. That's not the way you do it. Well, Iron fist is always not the way.
You need politics to answer it, and we'll have to leave it there. We've heard from two young men from the valley today. We don't probably hear or talk to young people often enough. Faizan Ali, Junaid Mattu, thank you so much for your time on the buck stops here tonight. That brings us to the close of the program, but we'll be keeping a very close eye on the Kashmir story through this week. Thanks for watching. Good night.